Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today, we are covering Jubilees, chapters 19 through 21. And, that finish off this commentary for the first half. We have a whole second half of Jubilees to get through.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have another commentary for you.
Yeah, we do. We are completely prepared. We are set up for all that.
We're ready.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So anything that you want to say about Jubilees chapters 19 through 21 right off the bat?
Not specifically, but I think we should introduce our what we're reading today.
Well,
I got a lot of stuff.
The Hermenia translation of Jubilees by James C. Vanderkamp.
Oh my God! You know what? I actually do too. Yeah, wow. except this is the commentary of it. So I have the translation and the commentary from James C. Vanderkamp.
Wow, incredible!
I know it really is incredible
and helpful.
Actually, it's very credible.
It's that too.
Pretty credible,
and it is super helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Do you want to jump into it then?
Yeah, we can jump into it. So this is going to start off with the death of Sarah and Abraham's acquisition of a burial plot.
Yep,
and
we remember that in the Bible, how he got some
23.
land in a cave, right?
Yeah, Genesis 23 is where that's at.
Yep.
Yeah, so the author of Jubilees condenses the account in Genesis 23 primarily by abbreviating the section about negotiations for the purchase of a place to bury Sarah. And, of course, that would be the part you would want to cut out because, that wasn't super interesting.
Speaking of...
at least, narrative-wise.
Yeah. Speaking of Friday Apocryphal Podcast and reading the same story of Genesis over and over again, what was the result of the poll?
Oh, well, let's see. Last time I checked the poll, which is on our community tab on our YouTube page, so you can, feel free to still vote. There's always time for that until we start the next book, in which case there will be no time. But you know what? Democracy is here. Democracy kicked in, and you can go vote on the community tab.
Yeah.
But last time I checked, it was Tobit.
Great. So we're rereading Genesis and part of Exodus again.
Well, you know what? We got more commentaries coming in.
Okay.
But I really want to read the alphabet of Ben Sira because it is just so funny.
Well, we can do that after.
Yeah.
And then we can do Second Enoch and
we'll
Third
do
Enoch.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 45 Maccabees and 46 Maccabees.
Oh, but don't even get me started on 46 Maccabees.
I won't.
Yeah. Well, anyway, why don't I hop into it then? Chapter 19. During the first year of the first week in the 42nd Jubilee, 2010, Abraham returned and lived opposite Hebron, that is, Kiriath Arba, for 2 weeks of the years. In the first year of the third week of this Jubilee, 2024, the days of Sarah's life were completed, and she died in Hebron. When Abraham went to mourn for her and to bury her, we were testing whether he himself was patient and not too annoyed in the words that he spoke.
So on Sarah and her dying and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, according to Genesis 23, 1 through 2a, Sarah lived 127 years. This was the length of Sarah's life. And Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. An attentive reader of Genesis might wonder why she died in Hebron, when at the end of the previous story, Abraham's home was in Beersheba. And that's Genesis 22:19. In rewriting the story, the author of Jubilees explains the matter by first reporting that Abraham had moved to this area 7 years after the near sacrifice of Isaac. And then we can compare the date in 1715, 2003, with the one in 1901, 2010. Yeah. Kiriath Arba, or Hebron, was one of Sarah's and his former residences. According to Jubilees 16:1, Abraham had left Hebron and eventually arrived at Beersheba. Now he returns to their earlier home.
You know, the more that we read Jubilees, the more it appears to be like apologetics.
Well, I mean,
Trying to provide explanations and fill in gaps which are present in the story.
I mean, let's be,
Also excluding things that are less favorable occasionally.
Let's see,
less
that-
so, but occasionally.
that happened like a lot though. Like
Yeah.
not just in Jubilees. You could argue that, you know, I mean, Talmudic stuff is pretty much all about trying to figure out the questions they had because of
Yeah, well, like the first book of the Talmud, I think, is like an extended discussion about what time the morning and evening prayers are supposed to be given.
right. It's a bunch of rabbis arguing with each other.
Yeah.
Which
But
could be fun.
So
Yeah.
like
Read.
it's not like apologetics would have been like this. I mean,
I'm
that's
sure
part of the
it didn't
reason.
start in Jubilees, you know.
No, yeah,
It's-
definitely not.
But it is like apologetics-y.
Yeah.
They're filling in information that wasn't present in the text that the author of this couldn't possibly have known.
Sure.
Right? So, there. But in this respect, too, he was found to be patient and not disturbed because he spoke with the Hittites in a patient spirit so that they would give him a place in which to bury his dead.
So the scene in which Abraham approaches the local Hittites to acquire a burial plot follows in Genesis 23, where the report about the negotiations occupies verses 3 through 18. There appear to be three procedural stages. So first, Abraham, a stranger and an alien, has to petition the authorities in Hebron for the right to buy land in which to bury Sarah, and they grant his request.
Yep.
Next, Abraham names the cave of Machpelah as the site he wants. Ephron, the owner of it, offers to give it to him. And third, they finalize the sale of property when Ephron names a price of 400 shekels of silver, and Abraham pays it in front of witnesses so that the land becomes his. There is reason for thinking the asking price, despite Ephron's attempt to pass it off as trifling, was rather steep. Very little of the detailed account remains in Jubilees, not even the courteous honorific titles the Hittites use in addressing Abraham or the name of the man who sold the field, Ephron the Hittite. There are several instances in which Jubilees mentions just one time what Genesis, which distinguishes the stages in the negotiations, expresses twice. So in 19:4, get through 19:6.
Okay. The Lord gave him a favorable reception before all who would see him. He mildly pleaded with the Hittites, and they gave him the land of the double cave that was opposite Mamre, that is Hebron, for a price of 400 silver pieces. They pleaded with him, "Allow us to give it to you for nothing." Yet he did not take it from them for nothing, but he gave as the price of the place the full amount of money. He bowed twice to them, and afterwards buried his dead in the double cave.
Yeah, so in 19:4, he spoke with the Hittites so that they would give him a place in which to bury his dead. And there was only one speaking thing before. The verse takes up elements... for 19:5, the verse takes up elements from Genesis 23, 9, 11, and 19, so Machpelah, and then 15 through 16, 400 shekels of silver. They wanted to give it to Abraham free of charge, but he insisted on paying the full price. He bowed twice, and so on. The writer does reproduce the fact that Abraham approached the Hittites in a patient fashion to acquire a burial plot, and he was able to infer from Genesis that they received him favorably. For this, he used an expression found several times in the Joseph stories. Literally, the Lord gave him favor before them.
Mm-hmm. All the time of Sarah's life was 127, that is, 2 Jubilees, 4 weeks, and 1 year. This was the time and years of Sarah's life.
I could see Abraham Lincoln saying that.
Okay. This was the 10th test.
Could you not?
Sure. This was the 10th test by which Abraham was tried, and he was found to be faithful and
Jubilees
patient
in
in
4
spirit.
weeks and 1 year ago.
Yeah. You could say that a lot of times throughout this entire book.
I know.
He said nothing about the promise of the land that the Lord said he would give to him and his descendants after him. He pleaded for a place there to bury his dead, because he was found to be faithful and was recorded on the heavenly tablets as a friend of the Lord. So here, does that imply that because of Abraham's actions, they then modified the heavenly tablets to record him as a friend of the Lord? Or at the beginning, have the heavenly tablets always said that Abraham would be a friend to the Lord?
I would say probably. Yeah, so the writer draws the sensible conclusion that Abraham could have mentioned the Lord's promise to give the entire land to him and his descendants, and that he therefore had no need to beg for any part of it. The humble patriarch strategically kept that information private, however, and put himself in the posture of one who pleads for a small plot of land, the reason why it could be called a test or trial. His faithfulness, even in this trial, was the reason why he was recorded on the heavenly tablets. I'll get to that in a little bit. And also, he was called, the Lord's friend. And this isn't, the first time something like this has popped up. Abraham's title as the Lord's friend is attested in various places, including Isaiah 41:8,
which we'll get to.
Yeah, I think is that this week?
Maybe. We're entering 2nd Isaiah.
Yeah, it might be.
I think it should be this week then.
I'm not sure. We were in the 30s or 40s, somewhere around there. We're very close to where you're talking about.
Yeah. But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the offspring of Abraham, my friend.
In its 4th year, 2027, he took a wife for his son Isaac, the 4th year of that Jubilee. Her name was Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Abraham's brother Nahor, the sister of Laban, the daughter of Bethuel, and Bethuel was the son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor.
Yeah, so they're just trying to establish that family tie to make sure that looking for a suitable wife.
When it says he took a wife for his son Isaac, I don't recall that being how it happened in Genesis. I recall Isaac going off on his own, making his own independent deals to receive a wife, right? You remember that.
Barely.
Yeah, but it definitely wasn't Abraham seeking out a woman to have married to his son. That wasn't what happened in Genesis.
So, on these verses here, so after rewriting the story of the Akedah, Jubilees bypassed the next paragraph in Genesis 22:20 through 24. Those verses list the 8 sons of Nahor, Abraham's brother and his wife Milcah, and the 4 of Nahor and his concubine Rumah. The 8th of the sons of Milcah and Nahor was Bethuel. According to Genesis 22:23, Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. The information serves the immediate purpose of anticipating the long story about a quest for an appropriate wife for Isaac in Genesis 24. The author of Jubilees, who had earlier mentioned that Nahor married but did not name his wife, saw no need to anticipate the narrative of Genesis 24, which it covers in one verse. In verse 10, he reports that Abraham only procured a wife for his son 3 years after Sarah's death. Hence, Isaac was 40 years of age, and provides details about her family connections. He could have taken them from Genesis 22:20 through 23, or 24:15, where when Rebekah is introduced, she is said to have been born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother. In Jubilees, one verse about the marriage. In Jubilees, one verse about the marriage, Abraham is the one who is in charge of the process, as in Genesis 24. And the actions he supervised resulted in obtaining a proper wife for Isaac, who was the heir to the covenantal promises given to Abraham.
But I don't recall in Genesis Abraham finding a wife for Isaac.
I don't remember, but you know what? We have Bibles here.
Isaac and Abraham don't talk after the binding of Isaac in the Bible. So
they already said that in this too, in some ways. They were like, they weren't on good terms, obviously.
Of course they weren't on good terms.
There wasn't a point in time in which Abraham in the Bible would have had this conversation with Isaac where he's like, hey, I found this girl named Rebecca. She's great. Yeah, no.
You tried to kill me.
Yeah, you tried to kill me. Yeah. But did you find it?
I'm looking around here. You can keep reading.
Abraham married a third wife, whose name was Keturah, one of the children of his household servants, when Hagar died prior to Sarah. She gave birth to 6 sons for him: Zimran, Jokshan, Medai, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua, during 2 weeks of the years.
Well, he did actually kind of look for a wife for Isaac.
Where?
Well, I mean, okay, so in Genesis 24, he was old and whatnot, and Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he had, "Put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but will go to my country and my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac."
Okay. Yeah, I remember. He sends the servant off because he doesn't want to leave his estate to someone who's not a son of Sarah, right? Because God made his promise to Isaac, regardless of the fact that he has these other children with Keturah.
Right.
So, yeah, he might have sent someone off to find someone, but it wasn't like he personally found a girl and hooked them up. Maybe I was thinking of Jacob.
Here is some pretty interesting stuff. Now, what I read from was Genesis 24. And here is a excursus on the omission of Genesis 24. So, and it's actually kind of short, too. So, in some ways, it is surprising that the author of Jubilees retained nothing from Genesis 24 except the notice that Abraham arranged for Isaac to marry Rebekah, who was a granddaughter of Abraham's brother Nahor. That information was, of course, crucial because it documented the fact that Isaac married someone from the correct family. But there are other elements in Genesis 24 that would have contributed to the message of the book. So first, Abraham emphasizes that his son is not to marry a Canaanite woman. We just read that over. Abraham also stresses that his son is not to return to the area of Haran, but is to remain in the land promised to his descendants. Third, Abraham declares that the Lord will send his angel before his servant to procure a wife for Isaac. The author of Jubilees could have identified him with the angel of the presence, as he did in other places, to show how the entire episode transpires under indirect divine guidance. Despite these and other features in the story, it does not find a place in Jubilees. Since the writer does not divulge his reasons for abbreviating Genesis 24 so drastically, the reader can only speculate about what motivated him. One possibility is that, as Kugel puts it, for Jubilees for Jubilees author, apparently nothing was to be learned from that episode. It is true, however, that Genesis 24 is not the only story of its kind that the writer omits. He also leaves out the parallel accounts of Jacob's meeting Rachel at what may be the same well, and of Moses' meeting Zipporah at a well. Possibly the author of Jubilees felt some uneasiness about the way in which these heroes met the women who would become mothers in the chosen line. In the cases of Isaac and Jacob, he records that they in fact married Rebekah and Rachel, women from Abraham's family, but he does not say how they met. In the case of Moses, he never even mentions Zipporah, who was a Midianite, of course. How could you? Most importantly for him, the patriarchs married properly, and thus the next generation would have the necessary genealogical credentials for bearers of the covenant. Mm-hmm. And, if you want a little bit more on that and not intermarrying, you can go ahead and read Ezra and Nehemiah. They should tell you a lot about how much you shouldn't intermarry. Yeah.
In the 6th week, during its 2nd year, 2046, Rebekah gave birth to 2 sons for Isaac, Jacob and Esau. Jacob was perfect and upright, while Esau was a harsh, rustic, and hairy man. Jacob would live in tents. When the boys grew up, Jacob learned the art of writing, but Esau did not learn it because he was a rustic man and a hunter. He learned the art of warfare, and everything that he did was harsh. Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. As Abraham observed Esau's behavior, he realized that through Jacob, he would have a reputation and descendants.
Yeah, and if you recall Ben Sira, right? The wisdom of Ben Sira, that reputation was, pretty much all you had.
And it's only through your descendants that you have any reputation.
Because it's not like, Ben Sira didn't believe in an afterlife.
Right.
So
he summoned Rebekah and gave her orders about Jacob because he saw that she loved Jacob more than Esau. He said to her, "My daughter, take care of my son Jacob, because he will occupy my place on the earth and will prove a blessing among humanity and the glory of all the descendants of Shem. For I know that the Lord will choose him as his own people, who will be more enduring than all those who are on the surface of the earth." Latin reads holy instead of enduring. The surface of the earth. "My son Isaac now loves Esau more than Jacob. But I see that you rightly love Jacob. Increase your favor to him still more. May our eyes look at him lovingly, because he will be a blessing for us on the earth from now and throughout all the history of the earth. May your hands be strong and your mind be happy with your son Jacob, because I love him much more than all my sons. For he will be blessed forever, and his descendants will fill the entire earth. If a person is able to count the sands on the earth, in the same way his descendants too will be counted. May all the blessings with which the Lord blessed me and my descendants belong to Jacob and his descendants for all time. Through his descendants, may my name and the names of my ancestors, Shem, Noah, Enoch, Malaleel, Enosh, Seth, and Adam, be blessed. May they serve the purpose of laying heaven's foundations, making the earth firm, and renewing all the luminaries which are above the firmament."
Oh, good old firmament stuff. Before we get into
I don't recall any of this happening in Genesis.
So, Abraham further bolsters the point that Jacob will be his true heir by wishing that not only his name, but also that of his ancestors would find blessing through Jacob's descendants. The 7 names taken from Genesis 5 are those of patriarchs in the first 11 generations, ones through whom the line leading to Abraham was traced. Some of the names are expected, others are more surprising. The author lists them in reverse genealogical order. Charles found, and you already read them. So I'm going to continue here. Charles found the list peculiar for its omissions and insertions. With regard to Mahalalel, nothing special is known. On the other hand, the omission of Methuselah is strange. Shem, whom Abraham mentioned in verse 17, in the Ethiopic, apparently, was the favored son of Noah, to whom the middle of the earth, including the land of Canaan, was allotted. The assignment of that blessed land was valid forever, and in it lay Mount Zion, the middle of the navel of the earth. And that kind of imagery, being the navel of the earth, the middle of the earth, that is very Enochian too. Mm-hmm. Remember in that vision where he talks about he's in Jerusalem, or he's in the garden, right? He's in the garden. And he talks about it being in the center of the earth. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure that's how it went down. Either way, like Abraham, after him, Noah had a favorite. He loved Shem much more than all his sons. Noah, as the ancestor of humanity after the flood, was responsible for the division of the earth among his sons, and thus his name was a natural one for inclusion in the list.
So this is bullshit, because in chapter 25 of Genesis, Abraham dies before she even gets pregnant with twins.
Dun, dun, dun.
Abraham dies, then she gets pregnant with twins. There would be no time in which Abraham ever would have met Esau and never would have met Jacob. Abraham, therefore, would not be able to have a preference for Jacob over Esau, because
he never met them.
He never met them. This is actually contradictory to the contents of the Bible.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Whoopsie floopsie.
Yeah, no. And looking forward, it doesn't make any mention of the story in Genesis in chapter 26.
They missed Methuselah. How could they do that?
Where Jacob gets a blessing from Isaac by tricking him.
That whole thing. He just kind of, what a jerk.
Yeah, it skips over that entirely, and it posits this.
That's like the whole story, though.
Yeah.
That's like the one everyone knows.
Well, maybe we'll get to that part later. I don't know.
No, I looked forward. There's there's nothing here that happens.
Oh, man, he's got future sight right there.
Then he summoned Jacob in the presence of his mother Rebekah, kissed him, blessed him, and said, "My dear son Jacob, whom I myself love, may God bless you from above in the firmament. May he give you all the blessings with which he blessed Adam, Enoch, Noah, and Shem. Everything he said to me and everything that he promised to me, may he attach to you and your descendants until eternity, like the days of heaven above the earth. May the spirits of Mastema not rule over you and your descendants, to remove you from following the Lord, who is your God from now and forever. May the Lord God be your father, and you his firstborn son, and people for all time. Go in peace, my son." So at this point,
they're the Mastema again.
Yeah, but at this point, Abraham delivers the blessing to Jacob.
Yeah.
Whereas in Genesis, Isaac delivers this blessing to Jacob after being tricked by him. So,
well, he hands over his. I don't think it went down like that. He hands over his.
birthright. Yeah, which Esau would have gotten.
Yeah.
This story completely jumps over and changes all of the details. The two of them departed together from Abraham. Rebekah loved Jacob with her entire heart and her entire being, very much more than Esau. But Isaac loved Esau much more than Jacob. That's the end of the chapter. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, family, neighbors, countrymen, etc.
Because you know what? I think all of your friends, neighbors, countrymen, etc., I think they all need a little bit of Jubilees. Don't you?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Here you go, man. All right. Let's...
Is this the last chapter in this commentary?
No.
Nope, there's one more. Then we'll be done with this commentary.
Yeah, we will. All right, so how about we hop into this next chapter, chapter 20, shall we? All right. So Abraham's testament to all his sons and grandsons. During the 42nd Jubilee, in the first year of the 7th week, 2052.
So, the text states the event to the year of the world, 2052. If 1876 was the year in which Abraham was born, see 11:15, he would be 176 years old at the time of the family gathering in chapter 20. Genesis 25:7 defines his age at death at 175 years, and Jubilees 23:8 agrees. Charles therefore suggests that the date formula, the first year, the 7th week, should be corrected. 7th week was a mistake for 6th week, so that Abraham would be 169 years, an age that would allow for the events of the next several chapters before he dies in 23:1. But the book's chronology for Abraham's life has consistently differed from the one in Genesis and will continue to do so after chapter 20. Thus, changing this number to make it conform to Genesis requires changing others as well, as Charles did. If one follows the text as given in the Ethiopic copies, the meeting described in chapter 20 takes place 6 years after Rebekah gave birth to Jacob and Esau.
Watching those numbers?
Yeah.
That is some weird stuff happening.
You don't have to mention it.
I know.
Nobody else sees
seeing your facial expression. And
there's
they're like, you're making weird faces and they don't have any context. But in the middle of the bar, not the end of the bar, the number drops to 0 sometimes and then spirals back up. I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, there's this this graph that's telling you the amount of viewers, and it goes up and down, but the graph is still there. But then the middle of it just kind of dropped down to 0 and it goes back up, and that stuff passed a while ago. So that's what
that's bizarre as hell.
Yeah. So, sorry about the divergence there. Let's continue.
It's interesting enough.
That's the comment.
Okay.
Is that the chronology is messed up.
Yeah, it really... Yeah, I definitely would not have noticed that. So I'm glad that someone did.
Yeah.
Abraham summoned Ishmael and his 12 children, Isaac and his 2 children, and the 6 children of Keturah and their sons. He ordered them to keep the way of the Lord, so that they would do what is right, and that they should love one another. I know, I am horrified, absolutely. Love one another. That they should be like this in every war, so that they could go against each one who rises against them, and do what is just and right on the earth. So they should keep that kind of, I guess, brotherly love.
Mm-hmm. The first words of the verse are based on Genesis 18:19, part of the scene before the birth of Isaac, in which the Lord debates with himself whether to hide from Abraham what he intends to do to Sodom and Gomorrah. The passage furnishes a natural basis for Jubilees 20, because in it the Lord predicted that Abraham would instruct his children in proper behavior, something that would have sounded strange at a point when he was the father of Ishmael alone.
That they should circumcise their sons in the covenant that he made with them, that they should not deviate to the right or left from all the ways that the Lord commanded us, that we should keep ourselves from all sexual impurity and uncleanness, and that we should dismiss all uncleanness and sexual impurity from among us.
So the second stipulation in verse 3 is that they should not deviate to the right or left from the ways that the Lord commanded them. The wording fuses several Deuteronomic phrases into one statement. All of the elements are present in Deuteronomy 5:32 through 33. Turning aside to the right or left occurs in verses such as Deuteronomy 5:32, 17:11, 28:14. While turning aside from the way God commanded appears in Deuteronomy 9:16, 11:28, 31:29.
Yeah, honestly, they're just different ways of saying the same thing, and here that language is just kind of all put together.
Yep.
Either way, don't do sexually bad stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If any woman or girl among you commits a sexual offense, burn her in fire. They are not to commit sexual offenses by following their eyes and their hearts, that they take wives for themselves from the Canaanite women.
So
hold on. Because the descendants of Canaan will be uprooted from the earth. Wait, hold on. So are they talking about lesbian couples here? Because it says if any woman commits a sexual offense, burn her in the fire, and then it goes off about these women.
So it'll list different sexual offenses. Right?
Okay.
But any sexual offenses.
Sure.
Right. So the penalty for a woman convicted of such an impropriety is to burn her in fire. As the commentators note, the writer applies to any woman guilty of fornication or adultery the penalty that Leviticus 21:9 imposes on the daughters of a priest who profanes herself through prostitution. She shall be burned to death. They also point to Genesis 38:24, where Judah commands that the pregnant Tamar be executed by burning. Jubilees' version of the story is especially intriguing. Judah insists that she is to be burned because she has done something impure in Israel. The writer relates the story to chapter 20 a few verses later as part of the defense of Judah's legal stand.
Okay.
But, yeah, ridiculous.
He told them about the punishment of the giants and the punishment of Sodom, how they were condemned because of their wickedness, because of the sexual impurity, uncleanness, and corruption among themselves. They died among themselves they died in their sexual impurity. And apparently this last clause follows the Ethiopic. The Latin reads, they disregarded the commandments. All right.
Keep going.
Now you keep yourselves from all sexual impurity and uncleanness, and from all the contamination of sin, so that you do not make our name into a curse, your entire lives into a reason for hissing, and all your children into something that is destroyed by the sword. Then you will be accursed like Sodom, and all who remain of you like the people of Gomorrah. I testify to you, my sons, love the God of heaven, and hold fast to all his commandments.
So the God of heaven was a title used twice for God in Genesis 24:3 and 7.
Yeah.
When giving instructions to his servants about getting a wife for Isaac. It appears more frequently in later books of the Hebrew Bible, in Daniel, Ezra, and Nehemiah.
Yeah. Well, I guess Ezra and Nehemiah wouldn't be that late.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he just means later as in...
Later in the book.
Yeah. Do not follow their idols and their uncleanness. Do not make for yourselves gods that are molten images or statues, because they are something empty and have no spirit in them. For they are made by hands, and all who trust in them all trust in nothing at all. Do not worship them or bow to them. You know, maybe they should have talked a little bit with the Egyptians, because they certainly believed that statues could, have spirits in them.
Yeah,
like, that's why they put, okay.
If you read Genesis, Adam's kind of a statue that has spirit put into him. He's literally made of clay.
Okay, well, yes, he would have been made from the mud or the dirt, like.
And then later on in the Midrash, you have the golem is a statue that moves around.
But also, I wouldn't say that they're worshiping.
They're not worshiping the golem, but I mean, it's a part of the mythology. There's still a place in Israel where
they're also not worshiping
the golems up there in that.
They're also not worshiping the Adam.
No, they're not. But there's still
But either way, no, I would have definitely talked to the Egyptians about this, because they had Ka statues in tombs, and that would be where the Ka spirit would pretty much stay and keep watch. It'd be like a place for it to sit. That's like a part of the spirit.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can look up Ka statues.
It goes all the way back to how Babylonians and Persians used to keep out little demon statues to scare away evil spirits. It goes all the way back to that.
They had yeah. Well, no, it wouldn't have been a warding thing. It would be,
No, but they thought those statues held the spirits as well.
Yes, but not like bad spirits.
No, good spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been the spirit of the person who died.
There's a lot of them. There's too many of these ideas that the inanimate object, even a phylactery and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
The
lich's phylactery holds the soul.
They had
inanimate objects and souls is all I'm going for here.
That's why, that their tombs were so ornate. They were trying to get a lot of stuff done. Ancient Egyptian magic. Anyways, yeah. Rather, worship the Most High God and bow to him continually. Well, are you going to bow to him continually?
No, I don't think there's anyone.
Chris is bowing continually. He's consistently bowing. This is just life now.
Why am I doing this?
Chris will eventually get a slipped disc.
Yep.
And won't be able to walk properly ever again.
Look expectantly for his presence at all times and do what is right and just before him, so that he may be delighted with you. Yeah, so that he may be delighted with you, give you his favor, and make the rain to fall for you morning and evening. Bless everything that you do, all that you have done on the earth. Bless your food and water, and bless the products of your loins, the products of your land, the herds of your cattle, and the flock of your sheep.
So that in Deuteronomy 28:4, it says, "Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb, the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your livestock, both the increase of your cattle and the issue of your flock." So it may be a quote. Or something close to a quote.
Yeah.
A reference.
You will be a blessing on the earth, and all the nations of the earth will be delighted with you. That didn't work so well, did it? I don't think all the nations of the earth were delighted with them. Sorry to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. Even if it's justified or not justified, whatever the reason may be, no.
Factually incorrect.
Yeah. They will bless your sons in my name, so that they may be blessed as I am. When he had given gifts to Ishmael, his sons, and Keturah's sons, and sent them away from his son Isaac, he gave everything to his son Isaac. Ishmael, his sons, Keturah's sons, and their sons went together and settled from Paran as far as the entrance of Babylon, in all the land toward the east opposite the desert. They mixed with one another and were called Arabs and Ishmaelites.
So,
damn it.
Paran figures as a place name in Genesis 14:6, where among other areas conquered by the invading kings is the region inhabited by the Horites in the hill country of Seir as far as El Paran on the edge of the wilderness. Genesis 21:21 reports that Ishmael lived in the wilderness of Paran, whereas Jubilees 17:12 relates that after her meeting with the angel of the desert, Hagar went toward the wilderness of Paran. So the desert area to the south and east, apparently in the Sinai Peninsula, was already the home of Ishmael. Furthermore, according to Genesis 25:18, Ishmael's descendants settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt in the direction of Assyria. He, Ishmael, settled down alongside of all his people. Havilah appears to be in the Arabian Peninsula, while Shur may be an Egyptian outpost. Jubilees is circumscribing the same general area and more by its phrases from Paran as far as the entrance of Babylon. So it could be a number of things. It says the point is that the families of Ishmael and Keturah settled in the wilderness areas to the east and south of the land, and thus inhabited places geographically removed from the land promised to and occupied by Isaac and his descendants.
And they interbred.
The name Arab is here explained as meaning mixed.
And you know how much the author didn't
loves
like
mixing.
Yeah. Targum Pseudo-Jonathan, Genesis 16:12, has a similar explanation regarding Ishmael. Quote, he shall be like a wild ass among the children of men.
Yep.
His hands will take revenge on his enemies, and the hands of his enemies will be stretched forth to harm him. He shall dwell alongside all his kinsmen, and he shall be mixed with them. Ishmael will later return to celebrate the Festival of Weeks with his father, Isaac, Jacob, and Rebekah, an effort that will make Abraham happy in Jubilees 22, 1-4. And he will also travel to Abraham's residence when he dies and help Isaac bury him and join the family in mourning. It may be that 23:7 says his and Keturah's sons mourned for Abraham in their own places. So Ishmael is still involved, whereas in the Bible, he's really not.
No. After a while, he's just kind of... He's doing his own thing. He's got a whole other thing to do. Yeah, so anyways, that is the end of chapter 20, actually.
Yep, if you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like, comment, subscribe, share it with friends, family, neighbors. Donate to our 666 donation drive. Once we hit $666, we are going to be getting a thetan meter. We're going to be seeing who the most clear is. We're going to take it apart.
It's not me. I'm not the most clear.
Oh, no, not at all. Not even close.
Clearly.
But and the alchemy thing we'll eventually get to. I don't know how we're going to do it.
We'll do it.
Buying property in a place that doesn't have any buildings. Dun, dun, dun. I'm serious.
You know what?
I'm fucking serious. We're probably going to have to do that.
Even if you do that, you can still be held liable if you impact the land in such a way that
Better
it
be
Okay,
ecologically conscious.
Okay, let's not make too much of whatever it is we're going to make.
Some
we didn't
gold.
think that one all the way through.
We're going to make the smallest amount of visible gold. That means the least amount of effort. But still, it's dangerous.
We'd be very lucky if we made gold through alchemy.
Yeah.
We can give it a go. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Just like the demon.
Yeah, we gave it a shot.
We would get one.
Yeah,
we
did. We genuinely tried to get a demon. It didn't work. It didn't work.
Yeah. In the 6th year of the 7th week of this Jubilee, 2057, Abraham summoned his son Isaac and gave him orders as follows. I have grown old, but do not know when I will die, and am satisfied with my days. Now I am 172 years of age. 4Q 219 113 preserves the number as 172. Ethiopic and Latin give his age as 175. Throughout my entire lifetime, I have continually remembered our God and tried to do his will wholeheartedly and to walk a straight course in all his days. I've personally hated idols and despised those who serve them. I have devoted my heart and spirit to keep myself for doing the will of the one who created me, for he is the living God. He is more holy, faithful, and just than anyone. With him there is no favoritism, nor does he accept bribes, because he is a just God and one who exercises judgment against all who transgress his commands and despise his covenant. Well, I think he was playing favoritism when he said that Isaac would be the inheritance of that covenant.
Yes, but
I think he was accepting a bribe when he accepted the covenant to begin with.
He wasn't. He's saying that he's not playing favorites with gods because there's just the one God, and you can't play favorites with the one God, or the one true one, I guess. But it's about he's not playing favorites with his belief in God's, his worship.
No, he's not talking about Abraham's point of view here. He's talking about God's point of view. He says he is more holy, faithful, and just than anyone. With him, there is no favoritism, nor does he accept bribes, because he is a just God.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, but that's not what happened. He accepts covenants, which are essentially bribes. It's one person doing something, or a group of people doing something that he wants them to do in exchange for something else. And he also definitely has favorites because he, one, shows favoritism to Isaac over Ishmael, and two, shows favoritism later on in the story to the people in the land of Israel over other people. So it's not like this is accurate even slightly. Anyways. Now you, my son, keep his commandments, ordinances, and verdicts. Do not pursue idols, statues, or molten images. Do not eat any blood of an animal, cattle, or any bird that flies in the sky. If you slaughter a whole burnt offering or a peace offering that is acceptable, slaughter it and dash their blood on the altar. All the meat of the sacrifice you will offer on the altar with the flour of its grain offering, mixed with oil, with its libation. You will offer it all on the altar as a fire offering, an aroma that is pleasing before God. As you offer the fat of the peace offering on the fire that is on the altar, you are to remove the fat that is on the intestines and all the fat that is on the internal organs and the kidneys, and all the fat that is on them and that is on the upper thighs and the lobe of the liver with the kidneys.
Yeah, so this is all just it's a lot of priestly rules. This is so much of the stuff that we read about in Leviticus.
Yeah. All of this you will offer as a pleasant fragrance that is acceptable before God with its sacrifice and its libation as a pleasant fragrance, the food of the offering to the Lord. Eat its meat during the day and on the next day, but the sun is not to set on the next day before it is eaten. It is not to be left over for the third day because it is not acceptable to him, for it was not pleasing and not therefore commanded. All who eat it will bring guilt on themselves because this is the way I found it written in the book of my ancestors, in the words of Enoch and the words of Noah.
That's
verse 10. That is a direct reference to the
10.
book of Enoch.
And the thing right at the end
Shout out to Enoch.
of Enoch.
Yeah, definitely the thing right at the end of
Yeah.
Enoch. Because it's implied that the book is written by Noah, right?
And Enoch.
Mhm.
So
Well, at the end of the book of Enoch, it's like presented as like, this is my story that I'm telling to you, my son.
it has a short story about Noah's birth, right?
Which is probably something that maybe, I don't know, if you're following the story, Methuselah could have written, or
right,
a number of things.
Yeah, I mean, we have like an account from Methuselah. That's
Again, he doesn't mention Methuselah.
yeah. Weird.
Must not like the guy.
Must not.
Or the, he lives too long, maybe. It could be something to do with that, because he didn't do anything bad. Methuselah wasn't inherently, frowned upon.
No.
You said that was verse 10, right?
Mm-hmm. In the words of Enoch and the words of Noah.
Yeah. So, an innovation that has received much attention is that the Abraham of Jubilees traces these commands to an authoritative book that, of course, is not Leviticus or Numbers, because this is the way I found it written in the book of my ancestors in the words of Enoch and the words of Noah. The writer refers to a single book of his ancestors that apparently contains sections among which are the words of Enoch and the words of Noah. Commentators have regularly compared the statement with, I don't even know what this is, ALD 1010? I don't even know what ALD is. Is there an abbreviation list at the start of that? There usually is, like a list of abbreviations, common ones. So... yes, so ALD.
It doesn't have ALD.
Damn, you know what? Maybe it's I'm gonna check what that is. What is ALD? God, I have no idea. Because they usually do have those useful indexes, and that's a real. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. ALD, Aramaic Levi document.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, that's something.
And what
All right, where Isaac says to Levi, "For thus my father Abraham commanded me, for thus he found in the writing of the book of Noah concerning the blood. The writer of Jubilees has indicated at several earlier points that there was a chain of ancestral tradition and that the laws about blood were an important component of it. It is likely that Abraham claims the words of Enoch and Noah as the authority for all that he has said to Isaac in the chapter, not just the contents of verse 10 regarding the times for eating the sacrificial meat. In Jubilees, Enoch is said to have written a book about the signs of the sky and the fixed patterns of the luminaries. He also composed a testimony, quote, for himself and placed it upon the earth against all humanity and for their history. But nothing is said about any teaching regarding sacrifice, even though in Eden he offered the evening sacrifice after his removal from human society. Noah, however, who is frequently associated with blood legislation, draws a connection between his teachings to his descendants and those of Enoch to his offspring. Genesis 9, 1-7 makes Noah the recipient of the command not to consume blood, and Jubilees accents the point by mentioning the subject several times in the chapter about him. The prohibition of consuming blood is part of the covenant God made with him, something he and his sons accepted by oath, and that became incumbent upon the Israelites.
Mm-hmm. Well, Noah has a book too, in Jubilees 8:11. When he dies, Noah's children take a book from him that has details in it where we talked about the division of the land. Mm-hmm. So it says in the book there emerged as Shem's lot, the center of the earth. So they get this book from Noah, and it details the division of the land. Presumably, this is the book that they're talking about here as well, right? Like, because it doesn't really mention Noah having any different books, right? It would probably be something in this story that Enoch wrote and that Noah later added onto, like literally in the same binding, two different people writing.
Yeah.
On all your offerings you are to place salt. Let the covenant of salt not come to an end on any of your sacrifices before the Lord. Be careful about the kinds of woods that are used for sacrifice, so that you bring no kinds of woods on the altar except these only: cypress, silver fir, almond, fir, pine, cedar, juniper, date, olive wood, myrtle, laurel wood, juniper cedar, and balsam. Of these kinds of woods, place beneath the sacrifice on the altar ones that have been tested for their appearance. Do not place beneath it any split or dark wood. Place there strong kinds of woods and firm ones without any defect.
One of the scrolls from Qumran apparently is missing some of those.
Mm-hmm. A perfect and new growth. Do not place there old wood, for its aroma has left, because there is no longer an aroma upon it as at first. Apart from these kinds of woods, there is no other that you are to place beneath the sacrifice, because their aroma is distinctive, and the smell of their aroma goes up to heaven.
Like mint.
Yep. Keep this commandment and do it, my son.
Yeah, here's some possible identifications for
so that you may behave properly in all your actions.
Thanks. So here's some possible identifications of the wood. Now, of course, these are the species names, and a lot of these are, fairly simple, because, a lot of these we know pretty easily. Like, we have cypress, but there would be two kinds of cypress. There would be Cypress tetraclinus articulata, and there's also Cypress sempervirens.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's
different kinds of cypress.
Yeah. We have it's all his translation, so it's not like there's going to be a discrepancy there.
Right.
But there's some stuff here about the individual trees. It looks kind of interesting, I guess. So both Jubilees and the Aramaic Levi refer to the pleasant aroma that comes from these woods. The following are some comments on the 13 kinds enumerated in Jubilees. So Cyprus, the name is a transcription of, hold on, it's Greek. I can do this. Kuparison in the Greek text of Aramaic Levi, and Geoponica, apparently. Oh, that's another text. Okay. The Cypress is an evergreen. So this is just some of the, not necessarily the etymologies, but it gives you the original words and where they're found, and then a fairly decent identification. And he goes down the list for each of them. So.
Okay. At all times be clean in your body. Wash with water before you go to make an offering on the altar. Wash your hands and feet before you approach the sacrifice. When you have finished making an offering, wash your hands and feet again. No blood is to be visible on you or your clothing. My son, be careful with blood. Be very careful to cover it with dirt, so you are not to consume blood, because the blood is the vital force. Do not consume any blood. Do not take a bribe for any human blood that will be shed casually without punishment, because it is the blood that is shed that makes the earth sin. The earth will...
Damn it, Cain!
Yeah.
You did it again!
Fucking Cain. Arr. The earth will not be able to become pure from human blood except through the blood of the one who shed it. Do not take a bribe or gift for human blood. Blood for blood. Then it will be acceptable before the Lord, the Most High God. He will be the protection of the good, and he will do this so that you may be kept from every evil one, and that he may save you from every kind of pestilence. I see, my son, that all the actions of humanity consist of sin and wickedness.
Yeah, so he's now addressing Isaac directly.
Mm-hmm. And all their deeds of impurity, worthlessness, and contamination. With them there is nothing that is right. Be careful not to walk in their ways or tread in their paths and commit a mortal sin before the Most High God. Then he will hide his face from you and will give you over to the power of your offenses. He will cut you off from the earth and your descendants from beneath heaven. Your name and memory will be destroyed from the entire earth. Depart from all their actions and from all their abominations. Keep the obligations of the Most High God and do his will. Then you will be successful in every respect. He will bless you in all your actions. He will raise you from a plant of truth in the earth throughout all the generations of the earth. Then
There's that good old plant imagery again.
Mm-hmm.
Then Strong roots.
Yeah. Then he will not make my name and your name cease from beneath heaven throughout all time.
And as we know, that's very important. You don't want to have your name blotted out of the book of life, do you?
Right.
That's a nice name you got there.
Apparently,
would be a shame if it was blotted out of the book of life.
Yeah. Well, apparently all human beings are absolute garbage, and except for this one family.
Yeah.
Make your way straight, my son, in peace. May the Most High God, my God, and your God, strengthen you to do his will and to bless all your descendants and the remnants of your descendants throughout the generations of eternity with all proper blessings for a blessing throughout the entire earth. Then he went out from him feeling happy.
It's no wonder that the chapter closes with Isaac leaving his father feeling happy. Yeah. Abraham had given him fundamental religious instructions, had equipped him with knowledge about serving the Lord as his priest, and had promised him and his progeny a rich and unending future if they kept God's commandments.
And all of these events are wildly divergent from what happens in Genesis.
Maybe not all of them. Wild. But quite a lot of them, yeah.
I mean, the entire chronology is messed up. People are born, at the wrong time.
And die and live
at the
wrong time.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with being premature. Being born prematurely, there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
It is completely fine.
Except when you die and your parents are sad and you're not around.
Well,
I was born a month premature.
Yes.
That
we've known you for years.
would have known me for 1 month less. If it hadn't been for that.
Yeah. We're done with that commentary.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Put it over there.
It's over there
It's
now.
all gone now.
Starting on part 2.
Looks exactly the same.
Yeah, it does, except for the chapters. That's about it.
Yep.
Yeah, but we don't worry. We're not getting started until next week.
Yep. But if you enjoyed the stream today, subscribe, give us a like. I see 13 people and 13 likes.
So that's great.
That's
But
great.
we need more. If you have not liked the video yet, just do that. What is wrong with you? Why haven't you done it?
Right.
That one guy who hasn't yet.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, that one guy.
You know who you are.
If you really enjoyed our stream, you can check out our Amazon wish list where we've got tons of books to add to this table and to use as sources for other videos.
Including Tobit.
Yes.
We have a commentary and translation of Tobit on there. So you know what? Since we're doing that soon, if you want to grab that, you can go ahead and do that. That'll be here, and we'll read it once we are done with Jubilees.
That'll help us out.
Yeah, a lot.
And if you want to support us in a different way, then you can check out our Patreon or our Teespring.
And you know, on Patreon, once we hit $200 a month.
We're gonna start production of The High Place.
Yes, The High Place. It is our sitcom. Well, I guess more of a dramedy.
Dramedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About God, and Jesus is in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a lot of good jokes coming. It's a very interesting. We already have this pretty much the storyboard written out, and
a basic skeleton.
Yeah, and you know what? It looks pretty damn good to me.
Indeed.
And the people that I have told about it, the story, they love it.
Wonderful.
So if you want to help us make that, you should become a patron. But you know what? If you're a patron, you get stuff too. You get access to all of our behind-the-scenes stuff. You get access to all of our video scripts.
Yeah, you can get entered into a monthly T-shirt giveaway. You can be on the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on the Patreon, so you can go ahead and check that out. But you know what? If you don't like those monthly payment things, we also have the Teespring that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots
wacky and fun T-shirts.
Lots of wacky and fun T-shirts.
Yep. Can we do a stream while drinking whiskey? I'm pretty sure we've done that.
Yeah, we had the New Year's stream, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh.
Tennessee
apple.
Oof. Drink it.
Did someone with Rona? I'm confused. Did someone with Rona have this or something?
Yeah.
It's a birthday gift. It's over.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Request made and successfully appealed.
That's pretty good.
Incredible.
I actually like that.
I'm not going to drink it.
Well, yeah, it's gone now.
Anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Oh, we have a Facebook and Twitter also.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter. Those are free.
Free to follow us on there.
I guess.
Yeah.
You can. Do we have PayPal?
Yeah, but you know what? That's just where the money goes from Patreon.
We haven't seen Mulan. I don't know that we will. Anyway,
I've seen Mulan.
The original.
Yeah, the old Mulan.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I'm also aware of the
new one,
the classic Chinese epic about Mulan, which is wildly different than
anything.
Either the animated or live action Disney film.
Yeah,
Either way.
That's Disney for you.
Yeah.
And also, you know what else is Disney for you? We will see you on Sunday.